What older men secretly want in their next wife. Most women don't know.
Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. As we grow older, love itself changes. But what happens when a man, after decades of life, begins to think about marriage again? When he quietly wonders what kind of wife he truly longs for in this later season. What makes him hesitate? What makes him hope? And what qualities does he secretly value most? It is a reality many overlook, but few speak of openly. The quiet longings of older men who have lived, lost, and learned. It rarely comes down to surface desires. More often, it is the result of years of experience, of disappointments that taught him what does not last, and of moments that revealed what truly matters. And the answer is not always what we assume. It isn't necessarily about youth or beauty. It is about realizing what love should feel like and recognizing when it finally does. In today's video, we explore 5 things older men secretly want in their future wives. These are not meant to be flattering or critical, but to provide insight, so that you can choose love wisely, respectfully, and with awareness as you age. If you're a woman curious about what men look for, or simply someone interested in how love evolves with age, stick with me until the end. What we discover may change the way you view love, aging, and marriage forever. Before we begin, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we share timeless wisdom and practical lessons for navigating love and life's later chapters with clarity and confidence. Now, let us begin with the first quality, one that older men may never confess outright, yet it quietly shapes whether they see a woman as comfort for the moment or a companion for the rest of the journey. Reason number 1, the comfort of being real. By the time a man reaches his 60s or 70s, he has seen enough of life to know the difference between appearances and truth. In his youth, he may have been drawn to beauty, ambition, or status, but after decades of working, raising families, and carrying responsibilities, his heart longs for something simpler, yet far more profound, a partner who can simply be with him, without masks, without performance, without the exhausting weight of trying to impress. I'll never forget Robert, a 68-year-old widower who had been married for 40 years. After his wife passed away, he spent several years alone before deciding he might be ready to share his life again. In the early days of dating, he noticed a striking pattern. Many of the women he met seemed to carry the weight of performance. Conversations felt polished, almost rehearsed, like they were following a script of what he thought he wanted to hear. Some spoke about their achievements, others about their independence, and still others about their ability to keep up with youthful energy. While Robert admired their effort, he often left those encounters feeling strangely tired, as though he had attended an audition rather than shared an evening. What he found most refreshing, almost magnetic, was when he met a woman who did none of that. She was in her early 70s, and instead of trying to impress him, she allowed herself to simply be. She laughed easily, even at her own mistakes. When she spilled a little tea on the table, she chuckled and shrugged instead of apologizing a dozen times. She admitted her flaws without embarrassment, mentioning how she had never mastered technology and often relied on her grandson to fix her phone. And most striking of all, she was comfortable with silence. They could sit on a park bench, watching the world move around them, without the need to fill every moment with words. For Robert, that simplicity was transformative. Over time, he realized he wasn't looking for someone who dazzled him with perfection or constant energy. What he wanted, what he longed for in this later chapter of life, was a partner who made life feel lighter, calmer, and real. After decades of responsibility, raising children, managing work, paying bills, he no longer needed fireworks. He needed presence. He needed a woman whose authenticity allowed him to breathe, whose honesty allowed him to rest, and whose companionship didn't feel like another role to manage. Robert once said of the woman he eventually remarried, "With her, I can breathe." That simple statement carried the essence of what he and many others seek. Not glamour, not perfection, but the quiet joy of companionship that requires nothing except being together. This is what older men secretly mean when they say they want companionship. It is not about someone to entertain them or prove worth. It is about someone who knows how to sit beside them in truth, in comfort, in the ordinariness of everyday life. The Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul finds peace not in pretending, but in living honestly according to its nature. When a man grows older, peace becomes more valuable than spectacle. He no longer craves the intensity of drama. He seeks the serenity of authenticity. For him, companionship means walking beside someone who allows him to be himself, with all his imperfections, and who brings the same freedom by being herself without disguise. After decades of striving and shouldering responsibility, they want a marriage that restores them, not drains them. They want conversation that flows naturally, not competition or performance. They want a presence that is warm, unforced, and genuine, because at this stage of life, time is too precious to waste on roles. Next, let us move to the second quality, one that is often misunderstood, yet quietly essential for an older man who chooses to marry again.
Reason number 2. Respect that affirms his dignity. By the time a man reaches his 60s or 70s, he has weathered decades of responsibility, careers built and sometimes lost, families raised, battles fought both in the world and within himself. What he secretly longs for now is not a critic, not a rival, but a partner who sees him for who he is and still honors him. Immanuel Kant, the German thinker, taught that every human being must be treated as an end in themselves, never merely as a means. For older men, this principle is especially important. They no longer need someone to build their identity. They have already done that. What they need is someone who honors the man they have become, flaws and all, without reducing them to roles of provider, protector, or companion on demand. Respect is not submission, nor is it blind agreement. It is the quiet acknowledgement of worth. It is the small gestures, listening without interrupting, recognizing effort, speaking without belittling, that allow a man to feel like his presence still matters. For many older men, this is what separates casual company from true partnership. Not flattery, not fear, but a steady recognition of worth that allows him to remain whole in the relationship. Love after 60 cannot thrive without it, because respect is the soil from which affection and trust both grow. Have you ever noticed how respect changes the entire atmosphere of a relationship? How even small acts of recognition can transform how someone feels in your presence? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your words may remind another person that respect is not optional, it is essential. Reason number 3. A partner who shares the burdens of daily life. After 60, a man knows that marriage is not only about love, but also about the thousand small tasks that weave life together. Meals prepared, bills paid, appointments kept, homes maintained. In youth, these chores can be overlooked or dismissed, but in later years, when energy runs lower and time feels more precious, the weight of unshared responsibility becomes too heavy. Meet James, a 70-year-old who had been widowed 5 years earlier. During his first marriage, he and his wife shared the household tasks naturally. She cooked, he repaired things around the house. She organized finances, he took care of the garden. It was never perfectly balanced, but there was partnership, and that partnership gave him a sense of belonging. After her passing, James struggled to keep everything afloat alone. Simple things, laundry, grocery shopping, medical appointments, felt overwhelming. When he began dating again, he quickly noticed how much the dynamic of sharing mattered. One woman he spent time with seemed to expect him to handle everything, planning dinners, organizing outings, even managing her errands. Though she was kind, James felt as though he had stepped into another one-sided arrangement. But with another woman he met later, the atmosphere was different. She naturally offered to help with small things. She cooked when he fixed the fence. She tidied while he prepared the car for a trip. These weren't grand gestures, they were small acts of balance, and to James, they felt like oxygen. For the first time since his wife's death, he felt that the work of life was no longer his alone. James once put it simply, "What I want is not someone to do everything for me, but someone who will do life with me." That longing speaks for many older men. True partnership is not only about affection, but about shared effort. For older men, this partnership is no longer about building wealth or raising children. It is about facing the practical realities of aging together with fairness and care. An older man who feels that his next wife will leave him carrying all of life's burdens will hesitate to commit. But when he sees signs of balance, of willingness to share both the light and heavy loads, he feels safe to invest his heart again. Coming up next, let us move to the fourth quality, one that lives not in chores or responsibilities, but in the heart itself, the tenderness of intimacy that keeps love alive even in later years. Reason number 4, tenderness and intimacy that keep love alive. After 60, a man knows that passion does not burn the same way it did in youth. Yet he also knows that love without intimacy grows cold. What he quietly longs for is not the intensity of fleeting desire, but the steady warmth of touch, affection, and emotional closeness that remind him he is still cherished. The Jewish philosopher Martin Buber described real love as an I-thou relationship, where two people truly encounter each other, not as objects, but as souls. Tenderness is how this encounter is lived in daily life. Without it, relationships risk becoming arrangements. With it, they remain living bonds. For older men, tenderness is not optional. It is the difference between companionship and love. They long for emotional closeness, the gentle reassurance that they are still seen, still desired, still worthy of affection. It is not about clinging to youth, but about affirming humanity. Ever noticed how small gestures of tenderness can transform a relationship, making even ordinary days feel sacred? Share your reflections in the comments below. Your story may remind others that intimacy is the heartbeat of love at any age. Reason number 5, loyalty and steadfast presence. By the time a man reaches his 60s or 70s, he has seen how fragile life can be. He has watched friends pass, witnessed marriages unravel, and faced his own mortality in ways he never imagined in youth.
In this season, what he values above almost anything else is the certainty of knowing that the woman beside him will remain, not only in joy, but in hardship, not only in health, but when the weight of years begins to press more heavily. My friend, Edward, a 74-year-old who remarried after losing his first wife, he spoke often about how his first marriage had shaped his understanding of loyalty. During his years of illness, his wife had been his anchor. She sat by his hospital bed, drove him to endless appointments, and reminded him, even when he was at his weakest, that he was still loved. After her passing, Edward realized that what he missed most was not just her companionship, but her unwavering presence, the knowledge that she would never leave, no matter how hard things became. When he began dating again, Edward noticed how quickly he could sense the difference between women who were looking for comfort and those who were ready for commitment. One woman made it clear she was interested only as long as life was easy. Another showed, through small but steady acts, that she was prepared for the long journey. She cared for him when he was ill with the flu. She showed patience with his slower pace. She expressed joy in walking with him through ordinary days. Edward confessed, "That's when I knew she wasn't just here for today, she was here for tomorrow too." The ancient Roman thinker Cicero described loyalty as the essence of friendship and the foundation of trust. Without it, relationships remain fragile. With it, they endure storms that no passion or attraction alone can survive. For older men who no longer have decades to waste, loyalty becomes the measure of whether love can truly be trusted. Loyalty is not about perfection or blind devotion. It is about choosing every day to remain. It is about saying, "I will walk with you," not only when the path is smooth, but also when it grows steep. For many older men, this is the deepest desire of their hearts, that their last years will not be marked by loneliness or uncertainty, but by the comfort of knowing someone has chosen to stay.
Let's remember the 5 qualities older men secretly long for in their next wife. The comfort of being real, the respect that affirms their dignity, the willingness to share life's daily burdens, the tenderness that keeps love alive, and the loyalty that assures they will not walk the years ahead alone. Together, they are not hidden desires or fanciful dreams. They are truths that remind us love after 60 is not about appearances, but about substance, presence, and trust. The men we admire most prove this lesson. What they value in the end is not youth or perfection, but authenticity, partnership, and constancy. When these qualities are present, love deepens, even as the years advance. And that truth carries not only wisdom, but hope, for it shows us that aging does not narrow love's possibilities, it clarifies them. Before you go, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we share timeless wisdom for love, aging, and living with grace and confidence. Thank you for watching, and remember, the most powerful bond is not found in fleeting passion, but in the steady presence of 2 lives choosing every day to walk beside each other.